Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mormonish Podcast. I am Rebecca, and I am joined today by one of my very favorite guests, the amazing Ron Yogason. How are you, Ron?
Hey, I'm doing very well.
And if you haven't seen a recent episode with Mormonish and Ron, you'll be saying, oh my gosh, what is that incredible background? Ron is such a collector, and he has gathered, just for a very brief second, tell us about the background for those that have not seen you recently. This is just the funnest part of podcasting with Ron.
This is just a portion of my library. Plus, I have a bunch of statues and things of Joseph Smith and a painting of Joseph Smith off to my side and a black velvet type of.
He's like, I'm just going to show you because you can't not show. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
That's
I really
amazing.
want to get inside the head of the person that said, I'm going to get a black velvet canvas. I'm just going to
Even here
paint
to
the
watch us.
prophet. And then the pulpit is pretty meaningful too. Tell everybody what that's all about for those who didn't catch our last episode.
This was a primary pulpit I got from a Payson chapel that closed down. They sold the building to another Christian church and they left all the furniture in it. And so they were just kind of selling it off. And I'm like, I want that. So I now have a pulpit and a working mic and everything. So it's wonderful.
He's there. And if you can kind of see behind him, he's got the couch from the foyer. He's got a pew. And I have to say, the Joseph Smith looks amazing there right on your side. I feel like maybe you should move that in every time you podcast. But yeah, Ron will be giving tours starting. I really think you actually could. It's fantastic. So it gets us all in the mood. So this is what we kind of like to call a little pop-up podcast, which means in the afternoon I go, we got to cover this. I'm going to call Ron, right? And somehow the stars align and we were able to do this because whenever you see Ron on, I think it's one of two things. It's history that we're going to dive into, or it's stats. Something to do with the numbers and the numbers that they have been proclaiming from the pulpit. And just this weekend, there was an address given by President Oaks to mission presidents that are getting ready to serve, get them all riled up. And he kind of rattled off some stats that everybody in the post-Mormon community is talking about. And Ron had gone over in another episode, which I think I'll link in the show notes because it was a longer, kind of more comprehensive about stats and membership and all that. But he had talked a little bit about these mission numbers. And here we are seeing almost what you predicted, Ron. Ron's like, I think we'll see this and this. So I'm like, we got to do this again. And so Ron's going to take us through, kind of what the prophet said, what it means, maybe what it doesn't exactly mean, but they want you to think it means. And we're just going to answer that question. What the heck is up with them saying so many missionaries? Are there really that many missionaries? Tell us, Ron. Help us break it all down, please.
All right, let me bring this up and see if it'll work this time. All right.
Yeah, because those numbers were big. People were like, wow, that's something. And then always in the back of our mind, we're kind of like, but I wonder if they're just kind of spinning it a little bit. Oh, perfect title. Here you go. Take it away.
Look at all these missionaries. So President Oaks says there will be more missionaries than ever with a first wave of 18-year sister missionaries to join more than 87,000 missionaries serving worldwide. So currently there's 87,000 missionaries serving around the world, but in the coming weeks, we will have the largest number of full-time missionaries in the church's history. And there's a couple interesting things in there. We'll get to that in a little bit. But you are called to lead missionaries at a historic time.
Mm-hmm.
The president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints said, missionary work is soaring to new heights. The increase is due to the first wave of 18-year-old sister missionaries beginning their service and to the addition of 55 new missions in July, bringing the total to 506.
Wow.
So it's interesting that creating new missions creates missionaries. I hadn't expected that, but I guess it's one of the statistics that helps us understand how they're counting things. I can see how that is now because in the slide here, he said we have 55 missions, 506 total missions, 76,500 young teaching missionaries, which is interesting. So I threw up the 2025 statistics, and they have full-time teaching missionaries of 78,000. So this 76,000 is a couple thousand shorter, smaller than
Is
this.
that the same designation? And what used to be called a full-time teaching missionary is now called a young teaching missionary? Did they just kind of change the designation?
So they have senior missionaries
Uh-huh.
and young teaching missionaries.
Okay.
And so they're adding these two together. We got the young service missionaries that match up with this like 4,500
Oh.
number down here. So this number went up by 82. And then if you add these two numbers together, we'll be up to like 82,500.
Okay. So for those that are
So
listening, the categories are young teaching missionaries, 76,500, young service missionaries, 4,600, and full-time senior missionaries, and that's 6,000. And you know they're putting that pressure on those senior missionaries. I hear this all the time that they are just, you got to go, you got to go. Go when you're 40. You can leave your job or you go. So I think that
yeah.
might have something to do with it. I think that's a clue.
So this is interesting because they've never broken out the full-time senior missionaries from this young teaching missionaries.
Yep.
They just gave this full-time teaching missionary statistic for 2025. That was 78,596. And then they had a separate category for senior service missionaries, which I just assumed that all the senior missionaries would fall into this category, but that doesn't seem to be the case.
Huh.
So we have every mission will have a mission president and his wife.
Mm-hmm.
There will be a couple of, at least on my mission, we had a couple of senior missionaries to help out around the office and do some little bit of home teaching in the area. And so that was on my mission. We had the mission president, and then he had two counselors. So we had two couple missionaries called, so that we had six total uh, senior teaching missionaries that would have counted, I guess. Um, so it's interesting that they're counting these 6,000 in with the full-time teaching missionaries. I just always expected these full-time teaching missionaries were the young ones.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's very confusing when you look at it, and it change the designations change every year, so it's hard to go back and compare and see exactly what they're trying to do. But I came across a post probably a week or so ago where somebody said a family member was in the MTC and had reported back. It was a girl that at one of the opening rah-rah meetings, they had said that 75% of the missionaries in the MTC were girls. And I thought, yep, that's the wave of the future, I think, here. And this seems to reflect that.
Okay, so yeah, the sister missionaries, that's a huge number. I mean, before we were anticipating about half of the missionaries were elders and sisters. So when I counting up the number of sister missionaries in like my daughter's mission last summer,
Oh, yeah.
there was about a 40% percent of sister missionaries to elders. But I'd looked at some other statistics from other people that have reported things, and they were all within 40 to 42%. So between the shorter length of sister missionaries serving, that would have accounted for like the 40% of the sister missionaries as opposed to 50. So it was about half and half.
Mhm.
I guess it would be in the MTC at any particular time. But now seeing 75%, that seems like a huge surge with the new switch over to 18-year-old sister missionaries. So I don't expect that'll be a consistent thing for very long. Probably just a quick surge as these 18-year-old sisters are coming in. But that is definitely an interesting aspect of it.
Yeah, and it sets up an interesting scenario. And that's what I kind of made a short about is, they're just, President Oaks is now saying it's okay to sort of explore attraction, romantic feelings toward the end of your mission. Look at those odds. This is going to cause love triangles, competition, devastation, fist fights probably. I mean, when you have that many more girls than boys and you're told, see if you can find somebody here on your mission, it's just not a healthy environment. So I
Yeah.
don't know. It'll be interesting.
My daughter, who's on the mission right now in the Philippines, she hasn't noticed anything particular on that aspect yet.
Oh, really?
It's still kind of a keep your distance type thing, but we'll see how things change coming in the future. So,
Oh, that's crazy.
all right. So this is what they're reporting. So
Hmm.
it's interesting to see the full-time senior missionaries broken out. So we've now at 82,500 as opposed to 78,000. So they've gone up by 4,000 since the end of December. All right. So back in December, we reported on this topic.
Hmm.
So this is a slide that I used from there. So I, this was our notable birth and membership trends. So in particular, I'll show some stats on the next slide here, but the membership numbers are climbing, but birth numbers, number of baby blessed are dropping. So I mean so 1997 we had 97,000 births with 4.4 million members, and by births I'm saying members of record that they're reporting.
Right.
If
Somebody that has a
you're
baby blessing.
Yeah, so in theory, if you bring in a family and they have a child under 8, they would be baptized into the church, but the child
Mhm.
under 8 could still be a child of record in that aspect. So
Right.
it's not 100% of these are not all births, but it's going to be like 98%. So
Right.
it's close enough. So in 1997, we had 97,000 births with only 4.4 million members. And we haven't had that many births since 2018.
Hmm.
So we still can't get back up to 97,000 births. So in 2018, we had 106,000, but we've now been hovering in the 89 to 94K since then. Between 1979 and 1983, we had a huge surge of births ranging from 103,000 to 124,000. So it went a huge spike there with 97,000 in 1997, and all of a sudden we're at 124K. We still have not had 124K births since then, even with 18 million members. Now, since then, we've been kind of mostly in the upper 90Ks. So we jumped from 93K in 2007 to 123,000.5 in 2008, and we stayed around 120K. So the youth born in 2008 will be turning 18 this year. And my prediction was this could cause a huge spike in the number of missionaries, possibly reaching 100,000.
Right. Because you looked at this and the way you described it before, I remember it was kind of like the baby boomers. There's this bubble of this age group coming through whatever was happening back in, what year would that have been when they were 18 years ago, whatever was happening back then?
Yeah,
People were having
2008.
I think we talked about it, probably the mortgage crisis. You couldn't afford a movie, so you stayed home and did something free. It resulted in a huge, burst of kids, and now they're all 18, but it's artificial, right? I mean, it's going to go through and then it's going to be over. So,
Yeah.
but they're working their way through, much like the baby boomers. They're 18-year-olds. And I don't know, do you think that's a national trend, or do you think it was just in the church? I mean, we're just looking at the church right now, but definitely the church.
It was just the church.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's
So
interesting.
there wasn't a big spike in the US in birth rates in that time. But we had a big wave in 1982, and so that created the 26 years later we had another big wave as those kids were all the people born in 1982 around that time frame were
right.
old enough to start having
Kids.
babies.
Yeah.
Then in 2008 we had this other big boom with again 120K babies.
Yeah. And I think that's why they're pushing marriage. Honestly, they know they have this huge group of this age. And if they can get all of them connected and married, they can keep this going. 18 years from now, there's going to be another boom, right? They have got to get them locked and loaded as soon as possible.
Yeah, because these birth numbers are flat. They're not going anywhere. So we need to have this wave come through with a lot of births. So we got to get people married at young and having kids early.
Yeah, which is, counter to what you intuitively would go, oh my gosh, the economy, oh my gosh, right? But your religion is telling you, doesn't matter, have the kids, right?
Yes.
Very interesting.
So these are the predictions. This is, again, the slide from December 2025 when we did this. This is what Elder Razband was debunking these false narratives. And the false narrative one was the rising generation has less faith in Jesus Christ than previous generations. And to argue against that, he says, contrary to that narrative, more missionaries are serving Jesus Christ now than have in many years, Elder Razband said. And again, we're saying, hey, this is just an artifact of this big wave of kids. So here I show the number of births here. So in 2007, we're at 93,000. 2008, we jump up to 123,000. And then we're staying in the 123, 120 range all the way up till 2012. And then it starts tapering down over the next 5 years. It's just slowly
Look
going
at
down
that.
under 100,000. And then since 2018, we haven't been anywhere near 100,000. We've been in the low 90s, upper 80s type of thing.
Yeah, do they track? They must track, but I don't know if they ever publish marriages. And they keep saying marriages are down. I mean, that would directly affect, birth rates and baby blessings. It's all tied together, obviously,
Right.
but it's pretty fascinating to watch. But here in this particular slide, Elder Rasband is saying it's faith. The kids are amazing, right? Not just that there happen to be more of them. So statistically, more of them are going to go, right? It has
Right.
nothing to do with faith.
So things that are affecting the number of missionaries that before 2012. So we had, let's see, actually, so yeah, you can see in 2012 here, we had 58,990 missionaries. 2013, we had 83,000 missionaries. So that was a huge jump when they did the age change for the sisters from 21 to 19.
Right.
Now, all of a sudden, many women that were never considering missions were now saying, okay, yes, I will do a mission. Before it was always, if your first priority is to get married as a sister,
Right.
as a woman. So if you have anybody that you're even courting or interested in dating, put off that mission. Your job is to get married and have kids. 2012, they said, okay, well, we're going to bring the age range down to 19 because the numbers were getting bleak. Look at those missionaries. You had up in the 60,000s in 2001, and then we're slagging down. We dropped down to the low 50s. So they're right around that 2002 frame. They're starting. We're going to raise the bar on missionaries. We need to have you a much higher caliber. We need you to be more worthy. We're going to, if you've ever had sex before or something like that, you're no longer, you're not meeting the bar. So you're out of it. And then instantly their number of missionaries plummeted from 61,000 to 50.
You can see it. You can see their institutional decisions right there. You're right.
Yes.
When they raised the bar and the people were like, I'm not going to make that, the numbers are tanking, right? And then they're like, oh God, what do we do? Dang it. Okay. If only we had some divine direction. Let's let boys go at 18 and girls go at 19. Look at those numbers shoot up right there. Oh my. And I bet it was all based on surveys and behavioral science and correlation, right? Here it is.
Yes.
And now it all shot back up once they made those decisions. And now the other decision is it's artificially manipulated, right? They're manipulating the masses. I'm telling you, behavioral science has tons to do with what's going on behind the scenes. The masses are being manipulated. That's what I'm trying to say. And these numbers really show it over the decades.
And if you look in, like I said, in 1982, we had that huge surge of 124,000 babies.
Yeah.
And it lasted for a couple of years. We had that big surge, and I'm going to show that on the next slide here. All right. So, and you can see that we had this 103, 124, we had the number here. So we had this big surge of births here in the 1980s. And so 20 years later, we had that big surge of missionaries in the 2000s. So but then in 1984, that number drops back down. We're now down from 112 to 98,000 births. And then 20 years later, so we're looking at 2003, 2004, and the numbers are just dropping. We went from 61,000 to 56 to 51. And again, it's just that the number of births. So they raised the bar right at the time where they had a lot of missionaries, but just in time for them to lose a whole bunch with the raising generation.
That raising the bar. Oh my gosh. So so they've got to get these guys married because this is the surge. And if they can do that, then they can have a whole bunch of kids and they'll have a surge again in 20 years. And as we all know, the chances of a convert remaining, retention, it's pretty low if it's a convert. If you're born in it, that is the vector.
It's a lot higher.
It's a lot higher, and they know it. That is the training vector. If you were in it, amazingly, you were born into the only true religion. It's incredible that the true religion happens to be yours.
It's amazing how that always works.
It's a miracle, but that is what works. If you're born into it, there's a chance. If you convert, chances are going down incrementally.
Okay, so there's a column here that I didn't have in the other one. So it's the percentage of missionaries from eligible births based on a 2-year period. So
Oh, good one. Okay.
this last column in here. So in 1978, about 24% of the missionaries that were eligible, of the 24% of the people that were born 19 years earlier, 19 and 20, uh, that's the percentage of people that are serving a mission at this point.
Oh, so you're taking the number of births on record, baby blessings, and then you're taking the number of people who we know served missions, and then
Yes.
you're able to show the percentage that out of everybody that could go, 24%.
Yes.
And that would be mostly boys, probably back in those days in the 70s went.
Yeah. So we're looking
24%.
at like 90% boys probably.
Right. And that's kind of, that's kind of 76. That's kind of end of Vietnam era there where people could kind of choose to do the mission before going in for military service. But yeah, it's incredible because, and you'll go through these numbers. This is way lower than it makes it sound from the pulpit. You know what I mean?
You can see with these numbers, you can kind of see,
Yeah.
you can see the wave of births on one
Yeah.
side and the wave of missionaries on the other side
Yeah.
20 years later. And then we can kind of see where the percentages of people that are eligible are actually getting out on the mission. So
we're
on the
talking
left,
30%, 33, nothing is even close to 50%, all the way up through 2006, 2007.
yeah,
There is nothing up until 2012 and 13. It's all, for those of you that are listening, the percentage of eligible people serving missions, and we're talking young missionaries, is all in the mid 20s, upper 20s, very low 30s. There's nothing. I mean, that is amazing.
Yeah. So now, 2012, they make the announcement that sister missionaries can go in. So 2013,
Yeah.
that's when
Is that the same time that
surge.
boys could go at 18? They did the two things together, right?
Yes, yes, they did.
So huge change. And I'm telling you, behind the scenes, they were doing surveys, they were running the stats, behavioral scientists, and they said, we got to do something. And this is what they did. Look at it.
And they're losing too many missionaries between the ages of 18 and 19.
Yep.
People would go out of school, do a year, and then they're like, I don't want to do this church thing annemore.
Oh my goodness, right? They were out of the boat for a minute. Cognitive thinking. Yeah.
They finally get to make their own decisions for their life. And then they realize, well, maybe this church thing isn't necessarily for me. So
Off
they
the
lower
hamster
it
wheel.
to 18. So now you go straight from home to a mission. So you don't lose, you have a lesser chance of losing anyone.
Nope. And I was just talking yesterday to my co-host Landon about that you are constantly under the control of leaders and parents. If you don't go to you're in high school, you've got teachers, you've got youth leaders, you've got other friends' parents, you've got your own parents, you've got check-ins with bishops. And all of that is happening when you're 17, your senior year, you get your call and then you're just out there. There's none of that gap, like you said, where you're like, wait a minute, I'm in college. Wait a minute, and your brain kind of breaks open. They know that statistically that is when the kids are going to step away and make some different decisions. And so they have made the end of your junior year and your whole senior year for boys and girls all about mission prep. That's all it is. You have no chance of being on another track.
Yep. So that's a huge reason why they have a lot more missionaries right now, a higher percentage.
Yep. High demand, high control. Yep.
So here we have in 2014, 2015, we have an overlap. We have the sisters that were planning on going at 21. Then you have all these 19-year-olds, 20 and 19-year-old sisters. So the number just blew up. We had 57% of available missionaries serving, 56%.
Look at that. I mean, it literally went up 20%.
Yeah.
In a few months. Because you're right. People that had waited until they were 21 to go, which probably that really sucks for them, right? But yeah, they went. And in addition to that, the 19-year-old girls are going. And then the ones that were going to wait till they were 19 still went. And the 18-year-olds could go. So you've got, this entire age range right there where everyone can go. And that's reflected there in 20%. And I can't remember what they were saying back then at the pulpit, but I'm sure they were patting themselves on the back like crazy about all the faithful, because it couldn't be stats. It couldn't be anything like that. It has to be that they're so faithful and they want to go and look at how amazing we are. and we're true.
Yes. So I hit 83,000, 85,000 in 2014. But by 2019, that wave had already gone through. The
Mm-hmm.
excitement had kind of died
Mm-hmm.
down, and we are down to 67,000 in 2019. But that's still a really high percentage of
Yeah.
people who were available. We're at 44.4%. So based on the number of people they had, that was a pretty decent number, but it's still nothing like what they had before.
Mm-mm. And then you can see it starts to sink. It's still kind of sinking again. It's
So
not
then we hit COVID
rising.
in 2020. So a lot of missionaries are getting sent home. People aren't going out on missions. They're waiting. So 2020, 2021, even 2022, 2022 is kind of recovering enough. People are going back out. So yeah, we hit 34% and 30%, 32% even in 2022.
Yeah, but it's
So
still back to what it was a decade before. I mean, that
yes,
excitement, the hubbub, the surge is over. And we're just back to those numbers.
yeah, 32% is, I mean, in 2009, we're at
Yeah,
33.8%. So this is like before the sister missionaries announcement
right.
had gone through at 30,
Yeah.
at 34%. So the
No,
COVID was a big hit.
yeah, COVID was a hit, but I'm sure they looked at that and said, okay, what can we do next? What are we going to do? We got to do something. We got to mix it up and make some kind of new, strategy here so we can get those percentages back up.
So yeah, 2023, 2024, we're recovering. People are going out. They're pumping everybody up to go on missions again. They're hitting the general conference talks are hitting this
Mm-hmm.
topic hard and encouraging everyone to go out and serve missions. So there's a little more excitement again. People are going out. And we're up to 37, 38%, 39. And then 2025, we're even at
Mm.
41.9%. So the 78,000 in 2025 was really high. It was really good for them.
And when did they announce girls could go at 18? It's been a year, hasn't it?
It was like last November.
Yeah,
So
that's what
it's been about 8
it's
months.
almost a year. That's right. Is
Yeah.
everybody prepared? Okay.
So from here, I have projections after 2025. So I've
Oh,
got this
Ron the
like
Prophet.
42%. So assuming 42% stays going on missions, and based on the number of births where we had 18, 19 years ago, I had to change the number of how far back I was looking when they changed the ages. So this year, 2026, I expect to have 91,224 missionaries, full-time missionaries out
Mhm.
there. Right now, going back to this previous slide here, and we're not, there we go. We're supposed to hit, see, they say talking about 87,000 full-time missionaries. But we've got 82,500 is what they are reporting with the
Mhm.
full-time seniors and the young teaching missionaries.
Mhm.
So
Mm.
they're reporting 82. I'm anticipating 91. So this is summer. There's probably going to be a big surge coming through
Oh yeah, for sure.
right now. So I expect the number to go up, and we may have another uh, 8,000 missionaries into the field throughout this year. So we'll see if this number happens or if this number goes down and we
That's
don't hit this
right.
42%.
Take note right here. Well, have you seen those videos? It's now the thing that they do where they get their flag for the mission they're going to. They get in a
Yes,
big
yes.
long line and they run forward. Brazil, Chicago, California. They don't even say it. They just unfold their flag. I love
Yeah,
it. I watched one of those. I watched like 30 missionaries go by, and then some people didn't have a flag and they just kind of held up their phone, with the flag on it, but they
yeah,
were
yeah.
still all smiling. And then there was this one video. I've seen so many of these. This guy just walks up. He's got a flag, but it's all crumpled up. And he just kind of goes, and he walks by. I'm like, I want to know the story on that guy because he has a flag. Does mom make him take the flag? But he's having nothing of it. I just thought it was so funny. So
He was not happy about
yeah,
where he was going or
maybe
maybe
that was it. I mean, I know
going
people
at
were like,
all.
hellhole, Wyoming. It doesn't even matter where it is. It's the fact that they're going. I just love that. But so Ron is being a prophet here, and we're looking at this. I'm
So we
going to
got
be
these
a,
projections.
yeah,
So
no,
we'll have I'm projecting 91,000 this year
uh-huh.
and as high as 102,000 next year.
Yeah.
And if we get this number, they might start pushing more towards the
Mhm.
service missionaries. So
That's
they
true.
may decide that, well, this is too many missionaries to field in the missions. So maybe we should push more service, and we'll get more service hours and numbers that way. So
yeah. And the seniors, they're really, really pushing the seniors too. So, but I mean, still, when you look at that, it's still less than half, 50%. It's less than 50% of people that do end up going. So that's
and the
what
numbers are going
happens
to
to
go
those
back down. We're
people.
going to be back down in the 90s and
Yeah.
80s.
Yeah.
By 2037, and then 2038 is when we hit that in COVID, where only
Right.
50,000 babies were blessed that year. So,
oh, that's going to be really low. Do they ever break it down, boys and girls? I mean, I know they kind of like say it, or men and women,
it
I
would
should
be
say,
nice if they
because
would.
that is really something to know. And I'm telling you, 18 months makes a huge difference. It's a no-brainer. It's like a study abroad. I almost want to predict now. I was in the era where I was old enough to date when they changed the mission time to 18 months. So some
Yes.
people that I was dating in high school, they were leaving and there was 8. I mean, it was just like they were just back right away. I wonder the next thing to shake it up. They can't do much more. You can't go on a mission at 17 unless you were already graduate. Maybe they'll try to get people to graduate early, but I wonder if they will make all missions 18 months,
So my
Everything
brother
is so
was,
streamlined. I mean, I feel like
yeah,
back in the day, the reason, and for those of you that don't know, they went from 2 years for the boys to 18 months, but it only lasted like 18 months that they did that, because they were
yeah,
like, oh, these guys are not even getting into their mission. They're not learning the language. Back then, you spent like, what was it, 6 weeks in the MTC? I mean, a good chunk of time. Now everything is so streamlined, even for a foreign language. You have so many tools online, you have so much engagement online. 18 months is still very doable. So I'm going to be a prophetess and predict that at some point they're going to make it 18 months for boys. They already do that for football players. We've reported on this. And I think you'd see a lot of people go. They're like, I can do that. That's like missing 2 semesters. You know what I mean? Instead of that huge chunk, that spans out into over 2 years. So that's my prediction. They're going to do
yeah.
that.
Yeah, my brother was in that. He was
Oh,
born
was
in
he?
65, so he
Uh-huh.
went
Yep.
in
That me
like
too.
84,
Mm-hmm.
85.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see a little bump right here
Yeah.
in 85, where it
Yeah.
went from
It's doable.
23% to 26%.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there's a little bit of a surge as missionaries would say, oh, it's only 18. I might do that.
Yeah.
But then it did kind of stay up in the upper
Yeah.
20s and 30s for a little while, even though it was just a short thing.
Yeah.
So
I
that's
don't know.
interesting.
We'll see. But everything they're doing behind the scenes is survey driven. It's driven by statistics. It's driven by behavioral science, all of that, just to try to figure out how to manipulate these young people and get them out there, for their own conversion, more than converts. We know that it's their own conversion. And then to be able to give these talks with these incredible numbers where people are like, wow, we really are growing. We're doing amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Just some notes. So, my projection is 91,000 missionaries, proselyting missionaries this year, based on the 42% from child of record numbers from 18 to 19 years. So we're only about halfway through the year. So 82,000. Hopefully that number goes up. Otherwise, that it's going to look so. If the number doesn't go up, then it'll be a lot worse than what they're anticipating. So if they're saying, "Hey, we got more missionaries than wherever," like, well, you're supposed to have a lot more missionaries.
And that's it right there. That's the key. It sounds like a lot, and maybe it is a lot more, but according to the stats, it should be way more. So it really is a decline, even if it looks like more than it has been in the past.
So we'll see if it is a decline. We're probably not seeing nearly as many elders going out.
Yeah.
Just because half of them are sisters, so we're just getting so many more sister missionaries that we're not seeing the young men any more faithful than they were 20 years ago or whatever. There's just a lot more sisters there.
Yep.
So again, we've talked about this. We had 75% of the current MTC missionaries are sisters, just because of the age lowering. We'll see if that stays to be the same. Maybe maybe the elders are leaving and not doing as much. So we'll see what happens there.
Well, and then you have those stats that for the first time, more women are stepping away from the LDS church than men. Of course, that's probably an older demographic, slightly older than the missionary age, but that's fascinating too. That that men are staying, women are leaving. So, yeah, it's so interesting to crunch these numbers and see if you can figure out what the hell is going on.
So I was surprised to see that there's 6,000 seniors for 12 per mission. So we had six on my mission.
Uh-huh.
And when I was in Vernonia, Oregon, lived there back in early 2000s, we had a senior couple that was parked inside of our yard. So they're missionaries. They were assigned to our branch. They had their own motorhome, and they just kind of parked their motorhome
Oh,
in our yard. So there are senior missionaries that are out actually doing proselyting work besides just
yeah.
office stuff. So, but that's like the only one I've seen. So I'm curious how many, if you guys are out there, if you see senior missionaries doing actual proselyting work, or if they're just office missionaries, let us know what you see out there. Because my experience, I've only seen one couple as senior missionaries ever that weren't missionary office elders.
So, I see what you're saying, that we're actually out doing proselyting and they had moved
Yeah.
from their town. They were doing something. Yeah. When I see them creating so many new missions, right? And all they're really doing is splitting what used to be a bigger mission into a smaller mission. And my thought, being cynical, is, oh, okay, here is another position that you can put a wealthy, retired, probably 40-year-old couple in. Here's another way to lock in and reward the wealthy elite, Mormon members. And we
Yep.
saw that whole list of mission presidents and companions, as they call them, that they just called a couple months ago. And I mean, there was 77 of them. It's something that people aspire to. There are many, many more missions that these people can be moved into. And once you're a mission president, then you're on a track, right? Then the
Yep.
church has these people, they're locked in, and they can be moved into other positions. So cynical me says it's just another top tier incentive. If you look at it like an MLM, where you can put, these elite wealthy Mormons, kind of like temple president, things like that. And the people that are
Yep.
called to support a temple, they're building so many temples. And they're also pushing serve one mission, serve two missions, be available, be called to all of this. And so, yeah, there's definitely this elite tier. Probably some of you had some of those in your ward, people that had been mission presidents or temple presidents, or yeah, there's a tier there that the rest of us lowly people can never hope to aspire to.
Yep.
So it serves tons of purposes. It's not only for
Yes.
the elders and sisters, it's for those, it's for people who have been in the church for a while, and it's all about rewards and incentives, and that works. It works to keep people in.
So, with 505 missions, there are now an average of 163 proselyting missionaries per mission. If they go up to 100,000 missionaries, that'll, with 505 missions, so they bring up 100,000 missionaries, leave the number of missions the same, that'll be 198 missionaries per mission.
Right. And you know what? I'm okay with that. That was my other thought, creating more missions, smaller missions. It means that these kids maybe have some more help, maybe have more adults that are aware of them, looking out for them. Maybe they have counselors, maybe they have medical help, maybe, right? Because they're going
Right.
out so young, no real world experience. Did they even know how to put gas in a car? You know what I mean? There's some of them I think are just so naive. And so if they can be supervised and have more one-on-one, with fewer numbers, I am all for that, please, because yeah, it's we've heard the mission horror stories. We know what happens out there, and
I,
these are just little kids. I'm sorry.
I actually had a greenie from Oregon on my mission. So my last companion was a trainee, fresh out of Oregon, and you can't pump your own gas there. So I actually had to teach him how to pump his own gas.
See, yes, that's what I'm talking about. That's exactly right. Oh gosh, I
He'd
know, and
never
how
done it
embarrassing. You're
before.
like, I'm sorry, elder. I don't do this where I'm from. I know. Isn't that so weird when you're in Oregon? You like start to get out, and they're like,
No,
"Don't get out
no,
of
no.
your car." No. Oh, that's cute. That's funny.
So looking back at 2014, they had 85,000 missionaries with 406 missions, with an average of 210 missionaries per
Mm-hmm.
mission. So after 2014, they started bumping up the number of missions for a little bit. Then they got up to about the 420s, 430s, and then they dropped back down to the low 400s. And now they were back. Then they started moving back up to now we're at 505 with this surge. So yeah, so we'll see if they keep if they'll add more missions or not. Maybe with higher number of missions, they do need more mission couples, senior couples to help
I bet they
manage
do.
the number of missionaries they have. Maybe 200 missionaries. Like my mission had usually about 120. So 200, 160, 100, 200 it would have been really high for Alaska where I served.
Hmm.
But I think my daughter, her mission in the Philippines has about 160. So
Okay.
it's right around where the average is
Where the
here.
average is. Yeah. And again, missions, it's like temple building. People still think that when a temple is built in a town, it means the membership is exploding, they're ready to do it. The tithing is, through the roof. That's what it used to mean when we were growing up, right? Now it's
Right.
just they will build it and hope that people will come, but it's still an outward symbol of an illusion of growth. I feel like these mission numbers, the talks that they give, the way they equate it to so many more faithful, when that's not true. It's just simply, if you look at the stats, you can see that it's happening and predict it, but it's an outward symbol of this illusion of, look, everybody's staying, everybody loves us. It's true. It's a very positive thing they can spin. The mission
Yep.
numbers, the temple building. But when you break it all down, as we do, it's kind of just what happens. It doesn't mean what they're telling you that it means.
Yep. So I'm excited to see how close the actual numbers are meeting my projections. But this huge surge, this whole big most missionaries we've ever had. Um, that's actually surprising. I wanted to look back at this one. So he says in the coming weeks we'll have the largest number of full-time
Mhm.
missionaries in church history, but they're already reporting 87,000 full-time missionaries.
Huh.
But as we saw back here in 2013 or 2014, we had 85,000 missionaries. That's the most they've ever had.
Oh,
So at 87,000,
they
that's
already have
they
more.
already have more than they've ever reported. So
I'm
I'm
not sure what that
wondering,
means then.
yeah, I'm
Did they write
curious.
this talk a while ago? I don't know. Yeah, that's funny. So 87, unless they're going to break it out and count it in a different way once they have the numbers to support it and say, look, these are the young people, because right now they're adding them together. Oh,
So back in 2014, they didn't have this category of young service
right. The
missionaries.
service.
So that would put us down to about 83,000,
Okay.
uh, 82. So yeah, maybe if you don't count the young service missionaries, then
Then maybe. Okay.
82,000. So I'm curious how they're counting them because they keep changing how they count things.
Yeah, they don't want you to know. And that's exactly it. They change the how they designate them. They change the groups they put together or now list separately. And you have to dissect it somehow because you cannot compare year to year to make it simple and say, oh yeah, there's this many more. So, but I will say anecdotally, and haven't you seen this? Everyone is going. Like
Yeah.
every high school student I see, they are all going, all the family members, they're all going, they're all doing it. So at least, I mean, and I'm in Utah. So, and of course, somebody who isn't going, that's not going to be broadcast like somebody who is going, right? I mean, we're
Yep.
seeing the
Yep.
moms posting the kids. You're not going to post, I'm not going, and here I am. Look what I'm doing. Yeah. No, you're just kind of going to move on and live your life. So let me ask you this though, because I did the reason that I decided we got to talk to Ron and just kind of get our heads straight around this is that so many people said, okay, I have my faithful family members saying to me, see, look at the numbers. What would you say is just a simple way, to answer somebody who says that, well, you might want to look at it this way. I mean, what would you say just very simply if somebody was just kind of waving those numbers in your face, right? How would you respond
This is
kind of
just the
without getting
expected.
confrontational and without going
Yeah.
into all the stats? Just what kind of general stuff could somebody say back?
The short answer is this is just the expected number based on the number of births 19 years ago, 18 years ago.
That's it. See, everybody
So
memorize that. If your grandma says, we have so many missionaries, say, oh, grandma, it's just the expected number of missionaries you would have based on the number of births 19 years ago.
yeah, so it doesn't mean that there's more faithful people right now. Or there's just more.
Yep.
It's just the whole. It's
Yep.
a numbers game. They
Yep.
changed the rules so they can get more people out. They're putting people into young service missionary roles. So normally, if a person would have crashed out of the proselyting mission and gone straight home,
Mm-hmm.
they can now kind of go home and then do a service mission for the rest of their mission.
Yeah,
So
that's
if
interesting.
they're
Yeah.
got suffering depression, they can't do the full-time proselyting. Now they can just be a service missionary. and that's something they can possibly do. So they don't have to kick somebody out entirely
Mhm.
as much as they used to. They're finding other ways for them to serve and complete their missions.
I never thought about that. And I would hope it's from the goodness of their own heart and organization. But what it really may be is you don't have to lose that number, right? And
Yeah.
who is going to say, yeah, I'm going home and I'm not doing a service mission? You can't do that. I mean, you can go home, but you have to stay and finish with the service mission so they can continue to count your number. I had never thought of it that way. How interesting.
Yeah, one of my son's friends had something like that. He went out on a mission, suffered depression, got sent home, and now he's just finished his mission as a service missionary.
Yep.
And then at least then you don't have to spend the $400 or $500 a month going to the
Oh,
church
yeah.
for your mission. You can stay at home, and you're not paying the church for the service opportunity to be their marketing and advertising.
That's right. Called to be in chat rooms, called to be. I actually had somebody email me and say, "Oh yeah, my relative was just called on a social media mission. They are literally going to sit there and go into Mormonish chat, and they're going to try to say things that promote the church. I don't know if it's Mormonish, but they're going to go into in the comments, and they are going to, try to dispel any things that are wrong that we're saying, which I think that is just so funny. When you mentioned money paying for a mission, I didn't think about that either. These incredible burgeoning numbers also come with a $500 a month price tag for every single one of those. So that money that they're taking in for missions, and I don't think anyone's ever crunched that, have they? Is it, do they make money off missions? I don't know,
I
probably
don't think
not. I think
so.
it probably all,
I think they're
yeah.
still subsidizing it with cars and other
Yeah.
things.
Oh, no, I think they are. I had a family member that served in an area where, it was very affluent, and their apartment, I was like, wow, I would live there. And that would be like a huge step up, because in some places they're absolutely fantastic, the places that they're living. So, well, this
Yeah,
is this is
it'd be fun to be
fantastic.
called to the Mormon troll, internet troll mission.
Yeah, no, but again, then I keep thinking about those kids who maybe have never been experienced any of what all of us are talking about. And a lot of us are talking in a kind way, about these truth claims and things. And I wonder if they're like, I can't do this anymore. I'm learning too much. I don't want to know. But I swear, some people who are always, and Ron mods a lot of my channels and my assets because he's so good at it, and he sees more than I do probably. And that, like, how are they always there? How are they always commenting? Are they called to do that? I don't know. If you are called to do that, fantastic, because you guys always bring up really interesting, you cause interesting discussion, right?
Yes,
When whatever
absolutely.
it is that you say. Yeah, no, I love it. And Ron always sends me screenshots. Look what they're saying about you now. And I'm like, all right, fine. There's a couple good, there was a really good one the other day. I won't even say it, but that, which one I'm talking about, where they're like, do you hate the church because you're, yeah, they were questioning. Yeah. Anyway, that's another story. So, all right.
Yep.
Any final thoughts on this, or we will wrap up? Thank you for
I
bringing back
think we're
your
done.
predictions and slides. And yeah, you did a great job. Thank you so much. And I think this will be helpful. Not that we want to splash cold water on anybody's excitement over the faithful rising generation, but let's just look at it for what it is. And a percentage of the kids have decided to go. And when there are more kids, there's going to be more out there because a percentage have decided to go, and a percentage have decided not to go. And we don't really know where they are, but we hope they're just out there living their life. And we hope that their families are supportive, and we hope it's all going well for everybody. So, all right. I hope you guys have been commenting. I'm sure you have, because this is a really interesting hot topic right now. So please let us know what you think. Please let us know anecdotally if you know anything about what's going on out there in the mission field. Do you have a missionary out like I did recently? Do you know anything about what's going on in the MTC? Because it's good to get that information just so that we can kind of figure out what the lay of the land is. So please like and subscribe to Mormonish Podcast. And if you'd like to be made aware of when the new episodes come out, you can hit the notification bell. If you would like to help financially support Mormonish Podcast so we too can someday buy a Joseph Velvet painting, it would be my dream. You can always make a donation. We have links in the show notes to donor box, and we are a nonprofit, and we just appreciate you guys who do that. It just means so much to us. So thanks again, Ron, for helping us crunch those numbers, and we will see everybody next time on Mormonish Podcast. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.